Oh, these are kudus. Just look at the kudus. So I'm not sure why they are not inside of the fence. Good morning and welcome back to Brandrivier. On this beautiful Sunday morning, I had a wonderful stay here in Vanwyksdorp. I stayed at the old post house. That is the name of the place where I stayed, and Wendy looked after me. But when I spoke to Edith, the lady that works here at the post house, she says no, actually that building was the old jail. So yeah, I actually slept in the old jail in Vanwyksdorp. I'm just riding past this beautiful church again. Thank you very much for joining me again on the next leg of my trip. The idea is to ride all the way to Barrydale, but not to take the shortest route. I'm going to take the dirt roads all along the foothills of the Langeberg. I'm just looking forward to quite a lot of dirt road riding to get to Barrydale. Let me just get out of Vanwyksdorp. It is now about 6:45 in the morning, so I'm making an early start. Sunrise was around 6:30. It's really not even cold this morning, it is just perfect. Now, this day in Vanwyksdorp was very pleasant. I had my dinner at the Dusty Dog. So those of you that watched my earlier videos and previous time that I came to Vanwyksdorp, I had my early morning coffee at the Dusty Dog, and now I had a very lovely dinner there, even with live music and entertainment. So Vanwyksdorp is a town that can entertain you as well, so that was very nice. It seems every time I depart from Vanwyksdorp I take a bit of the back roads, but this is where the GPS is taking me. I'm just glad to be on the bike again and to explore a little bit more of the Little Karoo area. The water has really caused some problems here. But all good. Let's go. So although the sun has risen already, it is not quite visible. It seems like there is some cloud cover there in the east. We immediately start next to the Groot River. The Groot River, or Groot is of course the Afrikaans word for big. So the Groot River is the river that flows past Vanwyksdorp, and we will immediately cross it on our route to Barrydale. Now there is a shorter route to Barrydale if you take this road in the other direction and then you link up with the R62, but I'm going to take the more scenic routes along the Langeberg, and we'll cross the R323 to get to Barrydale. Well, I suppose if the name is good for this area, it looks like quite a big river. Let's just have a bit of a look here on the bridge. So of course it is not rainy season, so I don't expect this river to flow. So it looks like it is water that is standing still. Let's go. So this trip to Barrydale is just under 100 kilometers, so it is quite a nice distance to ride. And I will also pass through a small little town. I don't know if it is a town or whether it is just a farm that is quite prominently named, but the town of Brandrivier is another town that I will pass today. I'm now riding on the R327. This is this dirt road that passes by Vanwyksdorp. But Vanwyksdorp is the kind of town that you don't simply pass it by accident. It is a town that you actually want to visit, because this is not the main thoroughfare, but it is worth a visit. If you want to experience some traditional Little Karoo hospitality, Vanwyksdorp is your place. So there in the front, the Langeberg is starting to emerge. The Langeberg, of course, the word lang means long, and so it is quite a long stretch of mountain that runs from east to west, and yeah, you need to cross through it to get to towns like Riversdale and Swellendam and to get to the sea on the south coast of South Africa. Yeah, it's just a beautiful sight. You can see how the clouds are creeping over the tops of those parts of the Langeberg in front. But yeah, just to get out of Vanwyksdorp, you need to cross these little, I won't say it's mountains, but hills. So it is a bit of up and down, with quite a decent descent going down here. So this part of the R327 dirt road is in an excellent condition. I can easily ride 80 kilometers an hour, no problem. So I think this is one thing about this part of the Little Karoo, and also some of the trips I did before I got here, in what a good condition the main dirt roads are. So even if you drive with a normal car, you don't have to worry. You don't have to stay on the tar roads. You can certainly take some excursions to see some more of these remote parts. So I actually started this trip already 2 days ago, departing from Cape Town. If you have not seen the previous videos in this series, please go and have a look. For example, I rode to Vanwyksdorp yesterday through the spectacular Vanwyksdorp Pass, so please go and have a look. And before that I visited places like Worcester and Leeuwenboschfontein Guest Farm, then close to Brandrivier, and also had a very, very nice ride through the Langberg Nature Reserve. That was really special. Please go and have a look, and please share with me in the comments what you think. I'm of course doing this trip on my trusted Honda CRF 300 Rally. I bought this bike about 6 months ago, and also the previous 2 trips that I have put on the channel I did with this Honda CRF. And as I said many times, this is an excellent bike for the kind of riding that I do. Like to take the back roads, the dirt roads. This bike is well capable of riding probably much rougher roads than I will ever ride, so any road that I attempt, I'm feeling comfortable that this bike will be able to do it. And the big advantage of course of this bike is it is a relatively small bike. It's only a 300cc, it only weighs around 150 kilograms, so I can manage it. It's not too powerful enough to cruise along nicely. But if I have to pick it up if it falls over or just handle it, it is no problem. It's just a lovely bike. Yeah, I cannot think of a better kind of scenario or scenery for an early morning ride than this. Perfect dirt roads, the sun that just has risen above the horizon, no wind, absolutely no wind, and just cruising along. So this road now will start to run parallel to the foothills of the Langeberg, and now one is starting to see the Langeberg quite nicely. Oh, these are kudus. Just look at the kudus. So I'm not sure why they are not inside of the fence, but it looks like quite young kudus. So let me just try and pass them without them running into the road. I don't think they are supposed to be in the road. You'll see these high fences. These are game farms. They need to be on the other side of the fence. These are quite big antelope, the kudus, so extremely dangerous. If you have to hit them by motorbike or by car, it is quite serious. We are now much closer to the Langeberg. You can just see how it disappears there in the distance. It seems that it's slightly lower there, so the clouds managing to get across. This was now a lovely ride so far on the R327 next to the Langeberg. We are now getting closer to the R323, which is the tar road that actually goes through the Langeberg, but we will stay on it for probably less than a kilometer. Then we will turn off on another dirt road to continue along the Langeberg. Yeah, I must say, in a very short period of time, the wind has suddenly picked up a bit. So it is even shaking me a little bit on the bike. So this was a bit unexpected, because when I departed from Vanwyksdorp this morning, there was absolutely not a breath of wind. Now we are getting to the R323. This is the road between Ladysmith and Riversdale. Yeah, so this R323 looks really quiet this time of the morning. Yeah, so we're going to stay on this road only for 2.6 kilometers. Then we are back onto the dirt road. There in the distance is the Swartberge. I rode through the Swartberge and the Sewewikspoort yesterday on my trip to Vanwyksdorp. What a beautiful ride that was. So this is the road to Brandrivier and eventually goes to Barrydale. And also a place called Groot Fontein. This is an interesting little back road that allows us to continue on the slopes or the foothills of the Langeberg. Yeah, so it's obvious that this wind that I'm getting now, it's coming from the south, and it's also driving those cloud cover over the Langeberg. But it seems the moment the clouds come over the mountain, it just disappears. But this is just a beautiful, beautiful sight, I must say. We are crossing a river now. I'm not sure if this is the Brandrivier, but the Brandrivier is a tributary of the Groot River. So they connect at some place. And the Groot River is of course the river that flows by Vanwyksdorp. So they're all part of the same catchment area. Groot Fontein. But you'll find here, seemingly there's some hikes and camping and accommodation. Probably there towards the Langeberg. I think this is the steepest climb on this stretch of road to Brandrivier. It's even got a sign saying steep. Yeah, that bank of clouds there is really thick. Now we indeed have quite a good view down this valley. You can see the road is going all the way there, so we need to take quite a steep descent now. There's quite a lot of loose stones here, so the road is good, but very, very loose. Just taking it a bit slower. But yeah, look at this valley. Oh. The Little Karoo, or the Klein Karoo special. Now we made it now to the town of Brandrivier, but I must say, if you did not know this is a town, you might miss it. It might be just a farm, but there are certainly a few dwellings here. And it is here where we now turn away a bit, yeah, to just ride past Brandrivier. I just think I need a bit of a leg stretch. Let me make a stop here in the Brandrivier on the drifts. Yeah, I made a stop here at the drift at the Brandrivier just to stretch a bit of legs, take a sip of water. The stop here is a bit out of the wind. The wind suddenly came up a bit, so I'm a bit more protected here. As I did with some of the previous videos, I want to tell you a little bit more about this bike. I spoke about it earlier in the video about how I bought this bike about 6 months ago, the Honda CRF 300 Rally. I just think it's a fantastic bike to ride these kind of dirt roads. But I've also been discussing some of the modifications I did. So in previous videos I talked about the handle protectors, I talked about the pannier racks, I also talked about the how I set up the electrical charging stations here, how I connect up the phone very effectively, and last I also spoke about this seat cover. But I think the one thing that I have not spoken about is this tank bag. And this is certainly something new. I haven't had it, or did not have it, in the previous trips, and this is making a huge difference. So why use a tank bag? Of course, tank bag is just accessible. It is available here where you sit, and you can then put stuff there that you can then, even while you're sitting on the bike, you can access. And you will see that it's also a place where the charging cables can then go in. So this is a Giant Loop Diablo 6-liter tank bag. It's really a quality product. You also get it in a 8-liter, and you get it in both black and grey. But I just thought black would go a bit better with this bike and the color schemes. But the question is, what's in the bag? So maybe let me show you a bit. If I open it up, might look a bit messy inside, but what you will see is the charging cables coming in here. I just have a little bit of a cloth that I keep there. There is the controller of the drone. That's where I keep my drone in here as well. So there the little drone is hiding away. So that fits in nicely, the drone. But then of course also the batteries. This is the batteries of the drone I keep in here. And then I have 2 sets of batteries that I use for the cameras that I use. So what is nice about this is it's continuously being charged in here, and I can just simply leave it in. And with these 3 cables, they're all USB-C cables, and then I of course have the 4th one, which is the lightning cable to charge the iPhone. So yeah, this is what's in the bag. There's also these little pockets in here where you can then stow stuff away, and then also there's a transparent pouch here that you can actually put your phone in, for example, if it is raining. So it's completely protected then from the weather. But let me just show you 1 or 2 other features of this bag. So this is completely modular, this bag. So you can then unzip it here, and if you only unzip it halfway, you can flap it open. So what is nice about this is then you can access the fuel tank, and you don't have to take everything off to then add the fuel. And it's got this harness that you just attach to the bike to keep it in place. But this can unzip completely, so you can remove the bag quite easily. And then I think a very nice last feature is it's also got a almost like a secret bag underneath, or hidden place where you can keep, say, maybe more important documents like your passport or travel documents and so on. So I just find this very, very useful. You even got a little pouch here to put some loose stuff. This helps a lot to make things accessible, like the camera, battery equipment and so on that I regularly need to change and so on. I hope you liked the introduction to this Giant Loop Diablo tank bag. I certainly think it's a great product. Yeah, that was now quite a nice little stop at the drift in the Brandrivier. So now we're continuing with this stretch of dirt road to Barrydale. Well, this Brandrivier valley is just a beautiful valley. You can see how there's some parts of the river probably flowing there as well. So this is a fantastic ride this morning. I must say, having the sun behind you actually allows for really appreciating the views. You can see see how the road is just disappearing there in the distance. Yeah, this dirt road is now getting to the end. You can already see the cars riding on the R62 here in front. We'll probably now see a bit more vehicles because this is quite a busy road. But this is the road we now have to take to get to Barrydale. Of course, you continue on with the R62, you also go to the town of Montague. So this is the main road linking Ladysmith, Barrydale and Montague. This was now really very, very pleasant dirt road riding. I will have to watch out for vehicles on this road. I'm steadily cruising against a little bit of a wind to Barrydale. Yeah, but that cloud cover is really thick over there. It actually is crossing the Langeberg where the Trudeau Pass is. Now that is a road that I'm going to take a bit later today. I hope it doesn't mean there's a rain, but I will find out. Yeah, now almost in Barrydale. We're about 2 kilometers. There's a steep decline going in, but there's the whole town of Barrydale. How beautiful. Yeah, it's actually very nice to get a complete view of the town as you approach it. The town of Barrydale was established in 1868 on the farm Trudeau Hoek, which belonged to Joseph Barry. So this is where the name comes from. And of course, like all of these small towns in the Little Karoo, it's built around the church. And already in 1880, the Dutch Reformed Church was established here. The church was built in 1908. So the church that you see here is well over 100 years old, and it is one of the most prominent and well-known landmarks in Barrydale. So I'm going to make a turn here just to see a little bit more of the town. Now let's turn in here. Yeah, so the whole town is really lying here in a valley. Oh, this is beautiful. No, Barrydale is not a small town. You can see that it's quite spread out. There's all kinds of accommodation places here as well, because Barrydale, of course, lies on the famous Route 62, and Route 62 stretches almost across the whole Western Cape and Eastern Cape provinces, and it's arguably the most scenic route you can drive in South Africa. So Vanwyksdorp is also on the R62, and of course Barrydale and Montague, Oudtshoorn. So yeah, you can really travel far with the R62 to see many beautiful places. Yeah, just look at this beautiful covered street. Barrydale is really a pleasant town. Beautiful. But let's make a drive by the church just to see what it looks like. As I said, this is the most prominent landmark in Barrydale, so one should probably just see it. Yeah, there in front, just look at it. And as I said, this church was already built in 1908. It's not a very large church, it can seat about 600 people. And yeah, you do see it quite prominently when you come down that steep incline into Barrydale. Oh, this is beautiful. Now the church is open, it is a Sunday morning. Beautiful church building. One can say the church is the most famous landmark maybe in Barrydale, but some people will argue there are some other things in Barrydale that's even more well known. And one of them, I would argue, is the roadhouse on the R62 here in Barrydale, called Diesel and Cream. And that is just a very pleasant place to stop. So I'm gonna head there. I have not had my morning coffee, and maybe grab something to eat. It is now just past 9 o'clock in the morning, so I think a perfect time to make this stop for coffee and a bite to eat. They're really interesting little shops also to browse around. Here it is Diesel and Cream, so it doesn't seem to be very busy this morning. Let's see if I can grab some coffee. Yeah, so I made a stop here at Diesel and Cream next to the R62 in Barrydale. So I'm already spoken to them, no problem, I can get some coffee. They are not very busy this morning, so I'm gonna hop in to get a coffee before I continue on this trip. But this is where we end this video for today, for this trip from Vanwyksdorp to Barrydale. Thank you very much for joining this trip. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And then until the next trip, which will depart shortly from Barrydale, but which I will bring to you in the next video. Bye bye and keep well.